602. Why don't you set it for 575?
I ranged this ram at 602 yards, but I had Tom set the turret on the Husqvarna scope for 575 yards to account for about a 15-degree up angle.
The first episode of The Best of the West aired 15 years ago. With almost 400 episodes produced since then, the goal from day one has always been producing long-range hunting adventures in the high country. Based out of Cody, Wyoming, the heart and soul of Best of the West has always been Western big game hunting. In the continuous search for new country and new adventures, we've hunted all across the western United States, including Montana, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Then for some northern exposure, we hunted in Canada, from Newfoundland to the Yukon, then Alaska from the Talkeetna Range to Kodiak Island, then down to Mexico for Coos deer and desert bighorn. Then things got really western. Argentina, Ireland, Namibia, Cameroon, South Africa, New Zealand, Spain, and Kyrgyzstan. Johnny Cash claimed to have gone everywhere, but his song doesn't say shit about Ulaanbaatar. That's where this week's hunting adventure takes place, Mongolia.
I started hunting pretty young. I got in Boy Scouts, I love shooting, and really became a fan of hunting and the outdoor adventure of doing that. And as time went on and I could expand my horizons a little bit, hunting in Asia was even more fun. Open, beautiful, pristine areas. You can drive for hundreds of miles and not see anybody. It really brings you back to a time when things were very pastoral, almost biblical times, how people did things. It's quite exciting to be in the outdoors in places where no one's really been, at least no Westerners have been, hunting in an old country in Asia that has a great hunting tradition. All their people hunt and they understand these things. Really awesome to enjoy these types of areas, being from a land thousands of miles away and being able to come to a land like this and enjoy yourself so well.
The beautiful thing about hunting Mongolia, it's a huge country. It would probably take you 20-25 hours to drive east-west if you wanted to. Normally we fly to western Mongolia from Ulaanbaatar. They have a light hunting pressure. There's a lot of mountains in Mongolia, a lot of plains. Yeah, I think the country only issues about 65 argali permits, and there's 3 kinds of argalis here. There's the gobi argali, the hungai argali, which is, we call it like the mid argali, and then they have the high altai, which is in the west. And it's a great experience. You just have to have a more open mind than hunting in, say, Alaska or Canada, but you don't have the weather issues. And the prices are probably a better value outside of the argalis.
This isn't our first Asian mountain adventure with Brian Martin. Back in 2014, we were privileged to accompany Tyler Saunders on his high country ibex hunt in Kyrgyzstan. Mid-Asian ibex inhabit some of the highest elevations in all of Kyrgyzstan. With base camp starting at over 10,000 feet, it's only up from there.
You made a dream come true. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. Good shooting.
Thank you.
One shot kill.
Best of the West, man.
That's right.
One and done.
Best of Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah.
The second stop in Kyrgyzstan was in the Oksai Valley in pursuit of Marco Polo with Best of the West pro dealer John Shafter. After an all-day stalk that involves thousands of feet in elevation gain, John and Brian finally closed in on a great ram.
Maybe you can. Good pup. Oh, well, good, молодец.
Thank you, appreciate it. Best hunt ever.
Not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
I've done this a couple times.
Yeah.
Asian Mountain Outfitters offers hunts all over the world, from massive rams in Tajikistan to tur hunts in Azerbaijan. It's always an adventure. When the Best of the West continues, the Gobi Argali hunt gets underway. Keep it right here on your long-range hunting authority. The Best of the West is brought to you by Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Zeiss spotting scopes and range-finding binoculars. Huntin' Fool. The Best of the West shooting systems. Defiance Custom Actions. The Wild Sheep Foundation. Husqvarna Optics and LongRangeStore.com.
You know, anytime you fly and you have a weapon, I don't care how much you've used that weapon and done things and got it sighted in and it's all dialed in, but when you fly, it just gets handled, thrown around, banged up. First thing you have to do when you get to your hunting area is stop and re-sight. Make sure you're dead on and everything's perfect again. We probably had to move it about a couple inches just to get it back on again. So that's the most important thing. Know your gun shooting where you want it to go. You'll feel really confident that it's gonna hit how you're planning.
On the edge of the Gobi Desert, where the sand meets rolling hills, the Gobi Argali Range slowly appears. The expansive region carries a healthy population of rams despite the harsh conditions. Void of cover, the sheep use distance as their primary defense. Extremely alert and easily spooked, it's critical for success that you spot them first. Much like any sheep hunt, glassing from vantage points is where the day begins.
Asian hunting, you have to be somewhat patient. You don't want to be a stressed out type A personality waiting for everything to go perfect, but I can't really say that I've had a hunt where we weren't successful over here. If you had the right client and the guys don't miss, we just keep going and find the ram. There's always legal rams in the areas that we hunt. My advice to hunters is don't try and shoot the biggest ram on the mountain on your first trip to Asia. It's kind of like going on I call it a semi-guided hunt, because you still need to be capable of helping the guides with optics and skinning and all that. If you want to shoot the animal that you want, you got to get involved. The guides over here are great at area knowledge, probably better than our North American guides at area knowledge, but the language barrier, and they don't have a lot of experience shooting with these kind of guns, so you need to be a good shooter and be able to call your own shot and range find your animal. I mean, some of the guides are awesome, but some of the guides are shepherds that know every inch of the mountain, but they're not going to be able to tell you if it's a 55-inch high altai or it's a 52.
As a band of rams feed around the ridge into view, a quick assessment of the rams are made to determine if any are fully mature. With no curl or age requirements in Mongolia, guides target the oldest rams possible to ensure healthy herds. With the oldest ram selected, it's up to Robert if he wants to take the shot or not. Less than 400 yards away, everything has come together perfectly. Everything except the ram isn't fully mature. Everyone is in agreement that this ram needs a couple more years. Assured by his guides that there are older rams in the area, Robert never loads a shell.
Yeah, think of an argali desert.
The tips out is better.
See how tight he is?
One thing you'll note when you come to Asia, typically the outfitters will have local guides. And these guides are herdsmen. They might be even ex-poachers that now are actually employed to manage the animals. The little villages all want to manage their animals, so the management is actually quite good. The people here, especially in Mongolia, they really understand how important their wild animals are, so they manage them really well. And having a local herdsman helping you find animals where they're at is quite awesome. You know these people are really benefiting all different ways from you being here. So economically and management skills and conservation, everything just is really kind of cool here.
With the next vantage point a couple miles away, the guys will spot and stalk their way through the surrounding area in search of higher ground. Not knowing where a potential ram could emerge from, great caution is used when cresting each hill. Busted. With no time to spare, Brian will have to use the swag method to quickly field judge these rams. The swag method being a sophisticated wild-ass guess.
From the back. From the back, the third one. From the back, the third one. 330. Put it on his gut sheet.
Don't see this from the back.
From the back, the third one. From the back, the third one. 330.
Without time to effectively look over the rams, Robert lets them all walk. Not wanting to make a hasty decision on day one, only time will tell if it was the right decision or not.
When you hunt in Asia, the advantage is there's lots of animals, but they're really managed well in most countries, not everywhere, but at least in Mongolia. Maybe 1 or 2 tags given in a given area. Some of these areas were 10 by 20 miles, maybe even bigger than that. And so the animals, you're generally going to take an older animal. You're not going to need to settle for something real small. Many times we saw 60 animals in a day. You could really glass over and see what you wanted, and managed well. Really professional outfitters, and the guys, although there's a huge language barrier, they work really hard. I've never seen a harder working group except in Mongolia. Really, really awesome people here, work extremely hard to get you your animal.
Wanting to pursue the band of rams for a better look, the stalk gets cut short by an evening monsoon. Much needed rain for the wildlife in the surrounding area, but a disappointing end for the day.
We drove to a high vantage point, parked the truck behind some cliffs, and hiked up, and the guides had been spotting there for a day or two before we got there. But yeah, going to high vantage points and glassing, sometimes you glass from the bottom, sometimes you glass from the top, sometimes the sheep are laying in the open, sometimes they're laying in boulder fields, and if you don't have a spotting scope or 15-power binoculars, you know, when they're more than a mile away, you won't see them. So optics is everything over here.
Having glassed up several quality rams in previous scouting trips, native guide Augie is relieved to see that at least 2 of the rams in this band are fully mature. Over a mile away and on the move, closing the distance on these rams is going to take time and patience.
First one. First one's a great one. Third one from the back, Bob. Third one from the back, Bob. He's running up. He's a white one.
We had spotted them up early in the morning and quite far away, maybe a couple miles away, and we started actually stalking out that way to find them, and they were down deep. They spooked out really quick on us, and just ran right past us, probably about 300-400 yards, but just in a dead run. ran up away from us. We finally got back on them a little bit. They came back down and got set up in a spot where we really felt they would be. We saw them bed down, they were spotted, and we just waited them out. Well, where we thought they would come out was up above us, where sheep usually kind of climb. In this case, 3 of them, and the big old one broke down below, and I had to really swing away and get back down on them. I had a spotter with me. He verified it was the old ram I wanted. I had probably 5 to 6 seconds to get that shot.
The Best of the West is brought to you by Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Zeiss spotting scopes and range-finding binoculars. Hunt & Fool. The Best of the West shooting systems. Defiance Custom Actions. The Wild Sheep Foundation. Husqvarna Optics and LongRangeStore.com. For information about hunting international sheep and big game hunting, please call Brian Martin at 250-317-5525 or visit online at AsianMountainOutfitters.com. For more information about the products and gear used on today's show, please visit LongRangeStore.com or call 1-866-754-7618.
First one's a great one. One of the days we got in these rams, we got in a cut and they got the jump on us. Some ewes had seen us and spooked, and then the rams came out and we weren't quite ready for them. But it ended up working out okay and even better because we ended up getting on a ram that we hadn't seen yet. Some of the guides had seen it, and they'd let us know that we should be looking for a big, heavy ram. Later in the evening, we had another close encounter with the rams. Weren't able to get a shot off. And then finally, when we did make the shot, we waited for them. We didn't push them, we didn't chase them, and we let them come out on their own, actually quite close. Bob had to do a quick 90-degree change and had a fairly quick shot, but a standing shot. Hit the animal perfectly. It didn't know we were there. Get ready to shoot again.
He actually stood there.
No, perfect.
Yeah.
It was 160.
Yeah, well, you know, when they stand there for like a couple seconds, you can get a shot. Woo!
We have these rams over here that I call the no ground shrinkage rams. When I tell the hunter, well, what do you think? I said, trust me, there won't be any ground shrinkage when we get to it. And those are the ones that are really heavy, old, massive. They may not be as long as some people think, but they score really well because of the circumference measurements, and they're just impressive. When you hold them, it's like always bigger than what the hunter expects, as most guys have shot deserts and rocky mountains and snows, and these are much heavier, bigger rams. Even a gobi, which is much smaller than the Altai, is 16-inch base. Altai is 19 to 20-inch base typically, so they dwarf a bighorn. You know, the world record bighorn hunter killed is around 208. You know, the world record hunter killed high Altai is around 260, so it's a huge difference. It's mid-July in the Gobi Desert, near the China border. We're here with outfitter Ogi and his good staff, and this is probably, we've seen over 50 rams. Yesterday we saw almost 40 different rams, and we saw some new rams today, so over 50 different ones, and this is the biggest one we've seen. Got on him 3 times. This is the 3rd time. The first time it was a rush. The second time it was a rush, and this one it was little less of a rush. And 160 yards. Bob made a heart shot, broke his leg, and fabulous ram. Big old fighting nose, lots of scars on his horns. It's a perfect ram.
It's a great hunt, guys. Ogie back here. Been doing this for years, man. Thank you, man. All the guys, all the spotters, couldn't do it without him. We worked really hard, and it's been a hell of a hunt.
This is the second Best of the West rifle I've used to kill big sheep. This is a 7mm mag. Great action, great scope, perfect shooting, awesome gun, great system, and I really love it. Thank you, Best of the West.
Hunting in Mongolia is an awesome experience, and I would absolutely recommend it to anybody who really wanted a complete adventure. There's probably no better hunting than Mongolia.
Thanks for watching part 1 of our Mongolian adventure this week on the Best of the West. Be sure to watch for part 2 when we venture across the desert in search of the elusive gobi ibex. The rugged habitat of the gobi ibex is only one of the many factors that make them so challenging to hunt. No trip to Mongolia would be complete without testing your skills against theirs. Then we head to higher ground in pursuit of the Hungai argali. The expansive range of the Hungai makes for a very traditional sheep hunt. Optics heavy and with limited vantage points, hunting the Hungai is the main event next time when the Best of the West returns to the land of the eternal blue sky.